For tuning in. I bring to you developments from La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia, of course, with the Pope's visit in Bamenda already kicked off. We're also going to be discussing the constitutional review in La République du Cameroon and Anglophones clamoring for the position of vice president. What does that even mean? Is that what is going to resolve a 10-year conflict, a 10-year war? We're going to discuss this with my panel tonight, but before I take you to them, of course, I bring you my monologue. Please stay put. I will be right back. Stay put.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com.
All right, once more, thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome all of you joining from Europe, from the near and the far east, from North and South America. Of course, all of the continent of Africa, thank you for tuning in. This is going to be very, very exciting tonight. Again, I will be taking you to Yaoundé and then to Bamenda. Or let me reverse it. I will be taking you to Bamenda and then to Yaoundé to talk about issues affecting the country called La République du Cameroon and the conflict in Ambazonia. But first, I take you to Bamenda, where the Pope's entourage arrived. I think that was early today. Take a look, please.
C'est ça, c'est vrai qu'il y a le gouverneur voulait les gens à Douala, on les met à l'intérieur du pavillon. Oh, tu veux mettre ça sur un oui. Il faut qu'on les mette. La passerelle.
So from there, your father goes directly inside.
Yes.
I would like to see, as we saw yesterday, the room where you can stay a little bit because we need also in this case that the delegation participate in the community. And then I have another concern which regards the people who are going to stay here. Because as you know, people will be on the Papa plane. Yes. They will stay all the day here to the rehearsal of the mass. And together with them, we will have also a group of security people. So we will have around 15-16 people staying there for the whole day. So the idea is, if it's possible, to provide a small lounge inside of the pavilion. I don't know if in the big room, maybe you can show us. All of these people, there are security and legal people, and they stay here for. Can we see the inside? Thank you very much. Okay.
On les met dehors, là, et puis ça finit. Voilà, là, c'est ça, c'est vrai qu'il y a le gouverneur voulait les gens à Douala, on les met à l'intérieur du pavillon. Oh, tu veux mettre ça sur un oui. Il faut qu'on les mette. La passerelle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching there images emerging from the Bamenda Albert Mokong's airport with the arrival of part of the Pope's entourage. And I am told we are looking here at the Swiss guards arriving from Yaoundé. Bamenda has been put under severe security lock. We learn there are security personnel everywhere in Bamenda. We hope that this is going to be a very successful visit of the Pope to Bamenda. We hope that really happens. Ladies and gentlemen, that said, I would like to take you straight into my first talking point that lays the groundwork for our discussion tonight, which again centers on the Pope's visit to Bamenda. And I will bring you that talking point, which I have titled, and you probably will be seeing it featuring in some newspapers in La République du Cameroon in the days ahead. I have titled this, Why Ambazonia doesn't want prayers and peace. They want justice and action. That is the subject of the message. As Pope Leo XIV sets foot on Cameroonian soil this week, he arrives not merely as a spiritual shepherd, but as a global moral authority whose voice has time and again shifted the course of history. For the people of Ambazonia, southern Cameroon, this visit cannot be reduced to ceremony, symbolism, or yet another call for calm. We have had calm imposed on us. We have been told to be patient. We have been urged to pray. But after decades of marginalization and 10 years of open war, what Ambazonians demand today is not prayer and not the hollow language of peace. We demand justice and action. Let me be clear. Ambazonians are not unfamiliar with prayer. For over 61 years, since the flawed union with Cameroon, our people have lived in prayer, praying for fairness, for dignity, for recognition, and for the simple right to exist as a people with a distinct identity. Prayer is not new to us. It is our daily bread. But prayer without corresponding action has become a ritual of endurance rather than a pathway to liberation. When a language of peace is invoked without justice, it becomes a tool of pacification, a way to silence the oppressed while empowering the oppressor. History offers us a different model, one that the Vatican itself has embodied. In Mozambique, for example, a brutal civil war raged for years, consuming lives and tearing apart the fabric of a nation. It was not resolved by mere appeal to peace. It was resolved when the Vatican, under the moral guardians of Pope John Paul II, supported direct, structured negotiations between the government of Mozambique and rebel forces through the community of St. Egidio. The rebels were not dismissed as terrorists to be annihilated. They were recognized as stakeholders in a conflict that required dialogue. The result was the 1992 Rome Peace Accords, an enduring testament to what happens when moral authority is paired with decisive action. Similarly, in South Sudan, amidst ongoing conflict, Pope Francis did not wait for conditions to become ideal. He intervened in the midst of chaos, summoning rival leaders, and in an extraordinary act of humility, as you see on your screen, kneeling to kiss their feet as he pleaded for peace. That gesture was not weakness. It was a profound exercise of moral force. It sent a message that neutrality does not mean passivity, and that the Vatican can and must act even when conflicts are unresolved. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Church, the Vatican, did not stand aside as a political crisis threatened to spiral into violence. It stepped in, mediated, and produced the St. Sylvester Agreement on New Year's Eve in 2016, demonstrating that even entrenched political actors can be brought to the table when credible mediation is applied. In the Central African Republic in 2015, the Pope walked into active conflict zones with a mission to reconcile and transform. These are not distant stories. They are precedents, African precedents, that define what is possible when the Vatican chooses engagement over observation. Ambazonia today, ladies and gentlemen, stands at a similar crossroads. This conflict or war is now a decade old. Entire communities have been displaced. Thousands have been killed. A generation of children has grown up knowing nothing but fear, gunfire, and uncertainty. Yet in Yaoundé, there remains a persistent belief that time itself is a weapon, that if the war is prolonged long enough, Ambazonian resistance will simply die a natural death. That is the narrative in Yaoundé. Let it be stated without ambiguity here that calculation is fundamentally flawed. The only way that strategy succeeds is if every Ambazonian is killed. That is not a solution. It is a catastrophe. A nation cannot be bombed into unity. A people cannot be erased into submission. It is equally important to correct a dangerous misconception. Ambazonian leaders are not the obstacle to peace. The obstacle is the intransigence of La République du Cameroon. When Switzerland extended an invitation for dialogue, Ambazonian representatives responded. They showed readiness. They engaged. But the government of Cameroon failed to meaningfully commit, allowing the process to wither. In Canada, there was a glimmer of hope. Cameroonian representatives boarded planes, flew to Canada, attended preliminary engagements, and for a brief moment, it appeared that dialogue might take root. But before those envoys could even return to Yaoundé, their own government disowned the initiative. The process collapsed, not because Ambazonians refused to talk, but because the regime in Yaoundé refused to stand by its own representatives. This pattern must be confronted head-on. If Pope Leo XIV is to engage meaningfully in this conflict, the foundation must be clear. Ambazonians are not intransigent. La République du Cameroun is. Any attempt at mediation that ignores this reality risks reinforcing the very imbalance that sustains the conflict. So what then does justice mean for Ambazonia? Justice means acknowledging the historical and political grievances that gave rise to this conflict in the first place. Justice for Ambazonia means recognizing that this is not a mere crisis or security issue, but a deeply rooted question of identity, governance, and self-determination. Justice for Ambazonia means the release of all political prisoners who have been detained for expressing legitimate political aspirations. It means accountability for atrocities committed against our people, burned villages, extrajudicial killings, and the systemic use of fear as a tool of governance. Justice also means restoring the dignity of a people who have been treated as second-class citizens within a state that promised equality but delivered annexation and marginalization. And what does action mean for Ambazonians? Action means moving beyond statements and into structured engagement. Action means convening both parties, not as victor and vanquish, but as stakeholders in a shared conflict that demands resolution. Action means applying the full weight of Vatican diplomacy to ensure that dialogue is not only initiated, but sustained. It means setting clear expectations and holding parties accountable to them. Action means doing in Ambazonia what was done in Mozambique, creating a credible, neutral platform where grievances can be aired and solutions negotiated. Action means embodying the courage shown in South Sudan by the Pope, where intervention was not delayed by the complexity of the conflict. Action means leveraging the influence demonstrated in the Democratic Republic of Congo to compel political actors towards negotiations. Above all, action means refusing to allow this conflict to drift into obscurity while lives continue to be lost. Ambazonia does not ask for the impossible. We ask for what has been done before. We ask that Pope Leo XIV borrow from the legacy of Pope John Paul II and Pope Francis, that you bring the same courage, the same moral clarity, and the same willingness to act to this conflict. We do not reject peace. We reject the illusion of peace without justice. We do not dismiss prayer. We reject the substitution of prayer for action. History will not remember how many prayers were offered for Ambazonia. It will remember whether those prayers were accompanied by the courage to act. It will remember whether, in the face of suffering, the world's most influential moral authority choose comfort or choose intervention. The question before Pope Leo XIV is therefore very simple as he arrives in Bamenda. Will this visit be remembered as a gesture or as a turning point? And that is my talking point, ladies and gentlemen. Now I take you into my panel for the day before I bring the other subject also of the day. I am being joined from Boston, Massachusetts by the one and only Professor Ben Akil. Prof, it's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anu, for inviting me to this show. I'm from Syracuse, New York. We did meet at Boston, Massachusetts.
Wonderful. It's a great pleasure to have you join this set once more. We are also being joined from Europe. I believe this should be 4-7. I guess this should be Belgium, if I'm wrong. Correct me, comrade. We are being joined from Belgium for the first time, ladies and gentlemen. Namata Lakoy. I hope I got it right. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
You are joining
Actually,
from Belgium, am I correct?
no. It's not. It's not Belgium. It's Norway. Personally,
Norway. Okay,
you
okay.
know,
Thank you. Thank
we are
you.
from the
Okay,
heart of
it's
the
a pleasure.
Scandinavian
It's a pleasure. And we are
side.
also being joined from somewhere in Nigeria, the one and only Shea himself. Good to have you back here, sir. Can you hear me? Shay, can you hear me? Your microphone is not on. Your microphone is not on. All right. He is adjusting. He will join us soon. But let me start with Prof. Ben Aki joining me from Massachusetts. Prof. Ben, you definitely listen to my monologue. We do not want prayers. We've had a lot of prayers, and we are still praying, even up to today, for a solution to the conflict in the Ambazonia. Tell me if I'm wrong in asking the Pope what we want is justice and action as a priority, sir.
I think you are absolutely right. If you think of all the Abrahamic religions, you can condense the essence to two things: the love of God and a passion for justice. So you're absolutely right to say that the foundation of harmony in a country must be based on justice. But whether the Pope is the one or who can give us that justice is a different question. But definitely, the Pope, as a moral authority, must look at a situation as complex as ours and prioritize justice as the foundation for the solution.
Thank you. Let me move to Lakoy. Tell me, you also listened to my monologue, and I have basically said that what we want in Ambazonia at the moment from the Pope, that is, if there is anything he can do, is not prayers and peace. We want justice and action. Am I wrong there, sir?
Well, from my perspective, it's a complex situation, and if we roll back history, we've seen that we've had visits of popes to Cameroon, and we've been expecting, changes in Cameroon and all that. But then we've not really felt or seen the influence of the Pope in the political unfoldings in Cameroon. However, we have not given hope. The people of Cameroon have not given hope. And you can see that what we want is that moral justice. But then we should recognize the fact that the Pope, although he's coming as a moral institution also to Cameroon, but he's also like the head of state of the Vatican, and within the diplomatic circles, I also think that it's a recognition of the President Biya regime, which it's positive for them. And so politically, I think it's something they're scoring a goal with. Furthermore, we cannot over-criticize this because you can see that before this particular Pope came in, they've started making some reforms, and you found like the reform in the parliament, the reform in the Senate, and this whole thing of the vice presidency. So my guess is that the coming of the Pope maybe has catalyzed some of these reforms, and we should just be patient and look into what is going to happen. And let's hope that this moral authority is translated into some political reforms. That's my perspective.
Thank you. We are going to get into the details of the political reforms taking place in La République du Cameroon, but I think let's dwell a little bit on the Ambazonia because we're going to dwell on the La République du Cameroon as a subject. Let me bring in Shay, I hope you can, I think your microphone is good now. If you can bend your camera slightly, please. That would be wonderful.
Is that better?
Yeah, Ben is slightly more. Oh,
Is that
okay.
better?
Thank you. You also listened to my monologue, and you are very close to ground zero where you are. Tell me, am I wrong in saying that what Ambazonians require at this moment from the person of the Pope's authority is justice and not just prayer and peace? Because we've heard a lot of peace, without any corresponding action to see that there is peace. So tell me, am I okay in my monologue there?
Good evening, televiewers of ABS TV, and good evening to my colleagues on the panel. And thank you once more for inviting me, and I'm glad to be part of this show. When you talk about justice, I did listen to your monologue, and I think that the core issue of justice is that is the foundation for peace. That's the first thing we need to know. And there is no lasting peace without sustainable justice. So peace without justice probably is just like throwing water on the deck's back. So sometimes people look at justice as being more important, and then it also provides people look at peace as being very important, but it's simply because it provides basic moral principles in the society. And some people think that peace without justice is like rendering people unaccountable, it's like preventing injustices, it's like promoting further conflicts. So I will probably say that without justice, peace is just temporary. So I do agree with you that despite the fact that the two are very important, but peace should be used just as a precondition. But peace is a fundamental requisite for human development. That's the first thing we need to know. But we all want peace, but at the end of the day, we think justice is what can sustain peace.
Prof. Ben, you will agree with me that yes, peace is necessary, but peace is only a result of action. Do you disagree with that?
I do not disagree with the fact that justice will come from action. You can prayer is part of also working towards that justice. But I fundamentally conceive of the problems of Cameroon as political problems, and political problems about people who want to govern themselves. The cry of Cameroonians has always been to be allowed to govern themselves. It is because we are not able to govern ourselves that our problems become intractable, and those who believe in vacuous chants of peace and unity, they try to use that. They try to use the visit of the Pope to say peace has come to Cameroon. But as a Protestant, I do not think that the Bishop of Rome has a particular role to play in the resolution of political problems in Cameroon. I would like to see us carry out those actions. And when I look at the actions in Cameroon, we have failed as a people, as Protestants, as Catholics, as Muslims. We have not been able to bring to an end a conflict that was actually the amplification of decades and decades of injustice that continue to plague our country. So we do need actions, and those actions have to come from the people. And that is why I think that right now,
which people are you referring to? I quoted a number of examples here. The Pope John Paul went to Mozambique and brought Renamo. They called them rebels together onto the table with the government. He went to the Democratic Republic of the Congo and signed, I forgot the name of that peace, signed a peace accord, went into Central African Republic and brought religious factions together, negotiated peace within them. I mean, if you are leaving action in the hands of people on the ground, I will tell you, you will expect no result because they have tried for 10 years, a decade now. So my question is, why shouldn't we expect the Pope to do exactly what they have done in Mozambique, in Sudan,
Well,
in
the
the
premise,
Democratic Republic of the Congo?
the premise of your question, Mr. Anu, can I go ahead?
Yes, go on.
The premise of your question is that the Pope has some role to play in political problems as a central authority. But as a Protestant who has been observing the way politics works around the world, the countries that do very well in democracy, in justice, in development, are countries that have a Protestant foundation and they talk to themselves. The people talk to themselves to find solutions to their problems. You cannot cite countries whose foundation is Protestant that have achieved peace, justice by the imposition or by the direct intervention of a pope. I understand the premise of your question that if the pope is coming to Cameroon and is talking about the problems, he should solve the problem properly. But I submit to you up front that the Bishop of Rome, the head of the Catholic Church, is not historically credited with bringing credible, lasting justice to situation because government by the people, for the people, and of the people is what really brings justice to these people. When you take them apart, because we're talking about Cameroon, where those who were fighting for our credible independence in the 1950s, most of them Protestants, Protestant nationalists killed with the collaboration of the French Catholic Church and the Cameroon Catholic Church. These are the actual elements that create conditions of lasting tensions. I do not believe fundamentally as a Protestant that if I have a political problem, I have to go to the Bishop of Rome and seek for a solution there. Mr. Etoy has just identified something or mentioned something, the other panelist has mentioned something, that the Pope's coming might have precipitated some of the reforms that have taken place in Cameroon. If we take that premise to be correct, then we will say that the Pope is actually contributing to worsening of the conditions that are in Cameroon. Not only is the Pope not helpful, the Pope is charting a different path to another 40 years of Cameroon walking in the wilderness. Whereas what we need is Cameroonians talking to them to one another and finding a solution to their problems.
I don't think I understand your logic there because you will agree with me that for 10 years, Cameroonians have been talking to themselves to no avail, to no result. And I also mentioned we've been to Switzerland to talk to ourselves. There's been no solution. We've been to Canada to talk to ourselves. There's been no solution. And when we find an example where the Pope, the Vatican, has been able to broker peace or negotiations in different parts of the world, why are we different? Why don't we have the same expectation?
So, yes, that's a very good question, Mr. Anu. If you see the question
Oh, so sorry there. It appears like your microphone has been down for a while, but we will come back to that. Let me come back to you. There is no doubt, the Pope is not coming to Cameroon to lecture them on how to write their constitution or revise their constitution. He is coming to Cameroon to say to Mr. Biya, it is time for you to consider stepping aside, getting a rest, enjoy your retirement, to which I guess Mr. Biya will respond, I'm appointing my vice president very soon who is going to take over from me, and the Pope will leave. And the Pope will leave. Of course, he will talk about the Ambazonian conflict, which is the subject of the subject we are discussing here. He will tell Mr. Biya, you need to sit down on the table with these people. And I like one thing which I quoted about Mozambique. The Pope John Paul II, went to Mozambique. Renamo fighters internally by the Mozambican government were called terrorists. But you know what? The Pope said you have to sit down with the terrorists and discuss with them. And it happened. So we are expecting a lot of people to Cameroon call some of us terrorists. They call Ambazonian fighters terrorists. But we are hoping that the Pope prevails on that regime to say, you need peace, you want peace. There is no other way but sitting down with these people to talk peace and justice with them. This is what we are expecting from him. We're not expecting him to bring back Issa Chiroma. And let me assure you, I really don't see Issa Chiroma going anywhere in that country as far as leadership is concerned. It is over. Let me give you the chance because your microphone was down.
I think your last statement that it's over for our president, our legitimate president of Cameroon, is a very serious misreading of the political landscape. I do understand that people have tried to use the coming of the Pope, the question of the former Southern Cameroons, and the prospect of a vice president being from the former Southern Cameroons. They've tried to use that to cover up the main problem. We are in an electoral suspense, and the National Assembly is illegitimate. The president who is illegitimate, the National Assembly that is illegitimate, cannot amend the Constitution for the sole purpose of escaping the judgment of the people of Cameroon, who are the true sovereign of that country. So anybody who thinks that it is over for Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari, the president-elect of Cameroon, is very gravely misreading the political situation, and it would become obvious after the Pope has left Cameroon. The political climate is going to ratchet up, and it will end with the dishonorable departure of Mr. Paul Biya from the presidency of Cameroon. That is the fight. I do not think the Pope is going to contribute towards that. His contribution is to the pacification of the people who want that justice. And once he would have come and visited and left, some people who are giving him a benefit of the doubt that he can contribute to re-establishing the truth of the ballot box will realize that he was playing on the opposite camp, either naively or knowingly. But in any case, the truth is that, Mr. Chris Anu, you will be invited to the inauguration of Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari as the third president of Cameroon. There is no question about that. This is our country. We're going to make it happen.
Well, I will, I cannot escape that. I will come as his friend. I'm his friend, right? I will come, and then once it is over, we will invite him for the inauguration in Boya.
And we'll fix the problems of Ambazonia, and we'll become one people as a federation.
Well, we will get there. We will see. Let me get to Mr. Eto'o. Now, many people do not know that Mr. Eto'o here, joining me, is the son of former Minister Benjamin Eto'o. former Minister Benjamin Eto'o. I mean, Benjamin Eto'o is a household name in Ambazonia, and it is interesting. It is very interesting to hear his point of view on the issues afflicting Cameroon and Ambazonia at the moment, considering that his father was there, has been there, is still there, working in the system. But I give him one check mark, one pass mark. The 1991 tripartite in which he spoke, Benjamin Eto'o spoke boldly for a federal Cameroon, in which the 1961 status, the federal status, was restored. He was, I think he was Minister of Tourism and then Minister of something else, but he is now functioning within the system in different capacities. But again, I'm being joined here by Namata Lakoy Eto'o. If I may ask you, how is your father, sir?
Yes, I would always address my father, Lord Justice Benjamin Eto'o.
Justice Benjamin Eto'o, correct.
I add Lord on it, he deserves that title as well, because he's been a very politically prosperous man. And he's worked across the administration and has served His Excellency Paul Biya, and he has also served the United Nations. So he's an international figure and representative. The thing is, he's, when you're in the politics, like the politics in which he is, right? He has his loyalty to His Excellency Paul Biya. That's the person he grew with, and he believes that loyalty is everything. So it's about loyalty. However, he understands the English-speaking Cameroonian situation and the problems. And, I will not read into what is in there in him, but what I think is that he's someone who would support reforms related to federalism. I think he would support that. But if it has to do with the Ambazonia state or the separatist, that I have a very big question mark. However, I can speak for him or I can think for him because I belong to a different generation. He's from a different generation and in a different system and a different kind of politics. But now we are the new generation. And they will be moving away and will be those to take upon affairs. You, Mr. Anu, I, Mr. Namata Eto'o, you, Mr. Benaki, Frank Biya, you've got a lot of people who would call here of our generation who will be those to move the country ahead. And we've had a really complex situation, difficult situation, because it's been the same system, But I think that if I would respond generally is that, the system has been methodic and systematic, and we've been part of enabling that system. The Cameroonian people, especially those they vote to lead them, have been enabling the system. And His Excellency Paul Biya is just playing his politics. And I'll still give him the word he's excellent, because he's been excellent in understanding the political landscape and, playing his politics. But it is for us to change the dynamics. And I think we can do it. So let's hope for that.
Yeah. I keep hearing from you and Ben saying we can do it. But my argument is that we've had war raging for 10 years. October will make it 10 years. We have not done it. Why don't we seek this help, this available help, to get it done? Mr. Eto'o.
Please, can you retake your question? I thought it was for Ben, please. Can you retake it?
Yeah, I said I hear constantly from you and Prof. Aki the idea that we can just sit down and figure these things out. And I'm saying for 10 years we have not figured out. And I mean, when I say we, I mean I'm actually referring to the state of Cameroon. Ambazonia has been ready to sit down and figure out an end to this conflict, but La Republic has not. Now, when you take it into their internal problems, they have not been able to figure out their election issues. They've not been able to figure out their electoral code, talk less of election results. But you have an opportunity in the visit of a man like this who has negotiated peace around the world. Why do you keep saying we can, when you have an opportunity for a man like this with a pedigree for negotiations to have?
Yes, I think I would like to give my perspective on these, and especially as we have the Pope visiting. You think that you cited the situation in Mozambique, you cited the situation in the Congo, where the Popes, they intervened. And I want to think that the power dynamics there were different and the political dynamics there were different. The examples are good, and those are examples that this Pope should consider. However, he's coming there, and the power dynamics in Yaoundé, they could just be different. So we can't really make so much comparison about that, because it's about these different countries and how they want to approach their situation. So the Pope cannot really make some magic. I think he will do his best to see that there are reforms and that the people who've been in conflict in the southern Cameroon region and also in this French-speaking region, they come together, you know. So that is going to happen. I think it is going to happen. You may think it's difficult, but, you know, if you hold on something and you believe in it and you work on it, it's going to come. So when I say we, it's because we have a generation that's facing out. You know, whether people resist something, there's a call from nature, and people are going to face out and leave the scene. You know, and you can never say for sure that, okay, like some people would say that if His Excellency Paul Biya is leaving the scene, he's going to lay things in place for another person, maybe his son Frank Biya, or maybe this current Minister of Finance Motose, or maybe let's say the Prime Minister Dion Gute. You know, when we have a new face in politics, it's not going to be the same. The dynamics will be different. The thinking will be different. The perspective will be different. I believe so. And you have been making yourself relevant for how many years, Mr. Anu? And if you continue to make yourself relevant, but you rebrand yourself correctly, I think that someday you'll be celebrating the liberation of the entire Cameroon. Believe in that.
Well, we will see, but let me get to Shay to see if he is in agreement that let's wait and do this all by ourselves as you guys suggest. Shay, please.
Please, could you take your question again?
Sorry?
Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you, 515.
Yeah, please, could you take your question again, please?
Yeah, my question is, you have Eto'o and Prof. Ben suggesting that, you know, we are capable of taking this thing, resolving this conflict and the political situation in La Republic du Cameroon by ourselves. But we realize, again, for 10 years, the conflict in Ambazonia has not been resolved, not because we do not want to, but because La Republique du Cameroon doesn't have the will. Now you go into their own internal conflict of electoral code, election results, and they cannot fix it. They go and they revise the constitution and nobody talks about election. Think about it. And yet Isa Jeremiah is still in exile. Nobody is talking about that. Why does somebody think that the solution can come from within?
First of all, extend my respect for their opinion, especially those who think that the solution can come from within. But let's assume that this was going to be the case. Where is the political will? That's the first thing we are asking them, because we have had a series of events where Cameroon has been given opportunities to resolve these problems. Generally, you understand that the people who stand on the way to resolve the conflict in Cameroon, we have different kinds of people. We have our elites in the first place, those people we call sellouts, the traitors, and so on. Just that handful who only think about their belly. Those who think that if probably the Anglophone problem is resolved, they will become losers. And they are using this opportunity to enrich themselves. This comes under the topic of what we call the war economy, where a few are the ones benefiting from the conflict, and irrespective of the bloodshed, of how many people are suffering, of how crumbling the country is undergoing. And then you also have the elite, not only our own Anglophone elites, we also have a handful of, I think Cameroon is ruled by, if there are many, if this number is much, I think about 15 people are the ones ruling Cameroon, where you have the Ngongos and the Famindongos, maybe the Atanganjis. I'm adding Atanganji because it's like an office boy who is always trying to please his master. Then we have the Shantai Bias, and then we have the Frank Bias, we have the Motaze, and so on. All these people have taken the country under hostage. And if this was going to be the case, I think Cameroonians would have stood up to fight for the liberation of their country. And I think they don't even have the will. They have surrendered into fate and are waiting only for a miracle to happen. And this is what leads us to the visit of the Pope, where most people are of the opinion that maybe his visit will broker peace and probably bring an end to this conflict. But why is it so? As you said in your monologue, if we look at the role that the Pope played between Chile and Argentina, I think that was in 1984, am I right? When Pope John Paul II, he successfully mediated a territorial dispute that brought the two nations to the brink, or that was almost bringing the two nations to the brink of war. Then we also have Mozambique Civil War, which I think was in 1990 to 1992, yeah, where the Vatican, along with the community of San Egego, facilitated peace talks and in Rome, and that ended the 16-year-old long civil war. Then we also have I think there was a conflict also in 1914 between the US-Cuba relationship. We saw the rule of the Pope, where he played a direct role in brokering the thaw in diplomatic relationships. We also have the Guatemala Civil War in the 90s, which the Vatican played a major role. And the last one, which showed the footages, the pictures of you showing the Pope kissing the feet of, I think, diplomats or political leaders in South Sudan. Sudan, that was
in Sudan and Mashar.
Yeah, and that should be around 2020. Am I right?
2015, I believe.
Okay, I thought it was 2019, 2020, because that should be about the South Sudan conflict, where after gaining their independence, there came a situation where another conflict evolved, and he had to intervene and plead for them to come to a lasting peace. All these activities and events have pushed the Cameroonian people to think that the Pope's visit may also play a major role. And why is it so? The reason is simply because people have been asking why the Pope is visiting Africa. And we've heard that he has three key issues why he is visiting Africa. And it's simply, first of all, because the world's attention is being tilted towards Africa. You know, when you did you intervene?
No, go on, go on.
Okay. That the world's attention is geared towards Africa. And when you go to visit Europe, and maybe I think you guys are still even trying in this in the US, you visit Europe, you will see that churches are becoming empty and only the old people are coming to church, showing as a sign that Christianity is gradually dying. And since Christianity, on the other hand, is growing in Africa, the Pope is also putting his attention to that part of the continent. And purposely, we hear that he will be addressing three themes. We have the theme of peace, we have the migration theme, and then the dialogue between interreligions. And why dialogue between interreligions? When you look at the purpose of, I'm bringing this background material, so background information, so that people should not think that the Pope is coming to Cameroon just for the sake of peace. No, he, as a religious leader, a vicar of peace, when he comes, he preaches to the consciences of people, and we expect that when he preaches, the word of God should touch the hearts of people, because Cameroonians, especially Cameroonian leaders, their hearts have become the hearts of stone where nothing can penetrate. So irrespective of what happens, if people do not open their hearts to let the gospel of Christ touch them, probably there will never be any peace. And like we said, this peace may be temporary. He may plead to the people, they may listen. You will see Atanganji and the rest of the people will come in front of the Holy Father. Maybe the president, he will talk to them, he will plead to them. But at the end of the day, their interests will come back. And that is why we are afraid that people should not politicize the Pope's visit that much. Reason being that one of the reasons which I've already explained why he is visiting Africa, and we know that Cameroon, being among, was just chosen from the countries that applied for the Pope's visit. We heard the Archbishop of Bamenda said the other day, Archbishop Mkeya, that they visited Yaoundé before the elections, when we saw other groups visiting to the palace and getting some envelopes. First, he said they came to pray for peace before, during, and after the elections. But recently, I don't know if I should use the right word. He contradicted himself by saying that they went to help apply for the Pope's visit. And truly, before a Pope visits any country, there should be an application from the state. And that's why it's not only these four countries that applied for the Pope to visit Africa, and that's what people should understand. But the Pope did his selection very carefully. After being in, I think the first place where he stopped over was in Turkey and Lebanon, which was from the 27th to the 27th of November to the 2nd of December last year. And this is his second outing. That's from the Middle East. He moves towards Africa. And we have all learned that one of the reasons why he is visiting Algeria, which is his first stop where he landed already today, is because the Pope himself is an Augustinian. He's from the Augustinian order. And we know of St. Augustine of Hippo, who probably should be the founder of his congregation or his religious order in Algeria. Algeria being a country with about 98% population being Muslims, and only about 100,000 to 300,000 people, if my statistics are right, are Christians. And these 100 to 300,000 Christians are again divided among themselves between the Protestants and the Catholics. meaning that he, as an Augustinian, choose Algeria maybe based on that. And Angola, being also a very Augustinian state, could be one of the reasons, him as an Augustinian. Then the question will be why Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea not being merely Augustinian, though they have some elements of practicing such an order, was simply because, one, when we look at the population of the Catholics, we see that Equatorial Guinea alone has a little over, if not more, about 70% of Catholics, which is also, of course, very small country, but with that highest number of Catholics, I think it gives them the boost to choose Equatorial Guinea. And then Cameroon, apart from what I have already said, based on the conflict that we already have, and peace and dialogue being part of the themes of his visit to Africa, and talking about migration, I think it's but fair that he should come to a country where we used to call Cameroon as the continent, where most of these themes, especially where peace is highly needed, and dialogue, there should be dialogue between Ambazonia and Cameroon, so that our people can live their normal lives. So I think, in a nutshell, without much ado, this could be one of the reasons why these four countries were chosen, and I still think that Cameroon generally is not capable, or maybe they are capable, but they are not willing to resolve the conflict. And that is why, and just my last word, that is why I think when you see the bishops go to seek the permission of the state to invite the Pope, I think they also see it as a window which they could take one stone and shoot many birds. There is no reason why we cannot hope. I mean, his coming, since we have seen the previous countries where the Pope has played a major role in peace, I think we too, anyone who doesn't hope, they say faith without hope is death. Anyone who doesn't hope for this probably should be someone with despair. But let's give peace a chance. But like we said, peace without justice is just temporary. Thank you.
All right. Hang in there, gentlemen. Let me take you to the next subject of the day. And I know that Prof. Aiki will be leaving soon, but I think he should weigh in on this before he leaves. And I am talking about the question of vice president, the question of the vice president that is making headlines in the La République du Cameroon today. That is the subject of this talking point. 10 years have passed, 10 long bruising years, years of gunfire in ghost towns, years of burnt villages and broken families, years in which a people cried out, not for privilege, not for domination, but for recognition, for equality, for a place within a union they were said to be equal partners. And yet, after all this time, one truth still stands unshaken. The Southern Cameroonian still does not command attention in the body politic of La République du Cameroon. Not in power, not in policy, not even in perception. And then comes Barrister Ekere Mona with a voice that cuts through the fog, declaring what many have long felt, but few have articulated so clearly, that what we are witnessing today is a final desecration of the union that still exists. Not a sudden collapse, but the end of a long, deliberate process. A slow dismantling of a federal promise made in 1961. A promise not whispered in secrecy, but negotiated in the full view of history, under the watch of the United Nations, with a weight of international legitimacy behind it. And yet, as sharp as a Keremona's diagnosis, the remedy now being floated, this sudden obsession with an Anglophone president feels like a betrayal of that very clarity. A vice president, after 10 years of war, after 10 years of blood, after 10 years of a people struggling to be heard, to be seen, to be taken seriously, this is what they want to reduce the conversation to? A vice president? It feels almost surreal, as though a house is burning, and instead of calling for water, we are debating the color of the curtains. Because what exactly does a vice president do? What does it change? Does it restore the constitutional foundations that were dismantled? Does it rebuild the institutions that were eroded? Does it return power to where it was promised? Or does it simply decorate a structure that has already collapsed? We have been here before, ladies and gentlemen. History is not silent, it is instructive. Foncha stood there once, vice president in title, symbol of unity in appearance. St. Mona stood there too, Speaker of the House, visible, celebrated, position. And yet, it was within that very arrangement that the foundations of the Southern Cameroons were quietly removed, break by break, decree by decree, until what remained was no longer a union, but absorption. So what have we learned? That titles do not protect people, systems do. And the system itself is titled if it is constructed in such a way that power flows in only one direction. Then placing an Anglophone at the top does not change the structure. It only gives it a new face. And perhaps that is the deeper tragedy of this moment. Not just that the system has failed, but that even its critics are beginning to negotiate within its limitations. Because when you begin to ask for a vice president, you are no longer challenging the structure. I hope that makes sense. You are adapting to it. You are accepting it. You are shrinking the question, and the question was never small. The question was never about position. It was about principle. It was about a people who entered a union as equals and now find themselves treated as an afterthought. It was about a constitutional arrangement that promised coexistence but delivered annexation. It was about identity, about dignity, and about the right to exist not as a minority to be managed, but as a partner to be respected. And so when voices rise today, voices in newspapers, in political circles calling for an Anglophone vice president, you cannot help but ask, is this strategy or is this surrender? Because if 10 years of conflict have not forced a reconsideration of the structure, what will a vice president achieve? Of course, nothing, zero. Or perhaps worse than nothing, it will create the illusion of progress. It will pacify. It will distract. It will give the appearance of inclusion while leaving the foundation untouched. And let us not deceive ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. If the system truly valued Anglophones, if their presence mattered in the calculus of power, would this even be a debate? Would their inclusion be something to be negotiated, something to demand, something to plead for? Or would it already exist? The uncomfortable truth is this: the absence of Anglophones at the highest levels of power in La République du Cameroun isn't oversight. It is a reflection of how little they matter within the configuration of La République du Cameroun. You want a vice president? Be careful what you ask for. It will come. It always does. An Anglophone vice president will be appointed. Perhaps not today. Perhaps not even tomorrow. But eventually. And when that day comes, it will be celebrated as breakthrough. A turning point, they say, a victory. But it will not be, because that vice president will serve at the pleasure of the head of state. He will rise at his appointment and fall at his discretion. His power will not be constitutional. It will be conditional. And we have seen how that story ends, right, Foncha? So again, the question returns, not softer, but sharper. Why are you asking for a vice president in La République du Cameroun, Yaoundé, when the real demand should be for a president in Boya? Why are you negotiating symbol when the issue is substance? Why are we chasing the ant when the elephant is standing in plain sight? 10 years have passed, and still the fundamental question remains unanswered. Not because it is complicated, but because it is inconvenient. And so, instead of confronting it, the regime offers alternatives. Titles, positions, gestures, carefully calculated concessions that change nothing, but appear to change everything. And that is how marginalization survives, not just through force, but through illusion. The illusion that progress is being made, the illusion that inclusion is being offered, the illusion that the problem is being resolved. But beneath it all, the structure remains unchanged. And until that structure is addressed, not symbolically, but fundamentally, nothing, and I mean nothing, will shift. Not with appointments, not with reforms that do not touch the core, not with promises that echo louder than they deliver. Because 10 years after the guns first spoke, ladies and gentlemen, the silence that matters, most is still deafening. The silence of a state that has yet to truly listen. And in that silence, one truth continues to echo. You can't be present. You can't be visible. You can even be elevated. But in the final calculus of power, you still do not matter. Boya needs a president, not a vice president in Yaoundé. That is the talking point. All right, Prof. Ben, let me start this with you, sir. We need a president in Boya. Tell me why you keep fighting. You are running a foundation called, correct me if I'm wrong, the Restoration of the Sovereignty of Cameroon. Am I correct?
Council for the Sovereignty of Cameroon. I'm a member of that.
Council for the Sovereignty of Cameroon. Where do you keep the sovereignty of the Southern Cameroons, sir?
Cameroon is our country, and the former Southern Cameroon is a proud part of that country, of the union between former French Cameroon and former British Southern Cameroons. Our fight is to have a foundation, a system of government that is federal in nature and that respects the contract of reunification. That is the real fight. Now, you have rightly pointed out that those who are celebrating or even begging on their knees and listing the names of people of former Southern Cameroons as potential vice presidents, they misunderstand greatly the challenge that is facing us. We understand clearly that those of us who think that we can salvage the union with former French Cameroon, we stand very strongly demanding federalism, demanding for the respect of the principles of constitutional democracy. And we have respect for our brothers and sisters who say our way of life is so different. We want to be independent. But we hope that if we can bring federalism, we'll win them over to the beauty of the idea of being together as one country. But you have set it up properly. The question of our vice president, created by somebody who has lost the election, created with a parliament that has exhausted its former constitutional mandate, is only there by manipulation. That is absolutely nothing to be considered. Let us think about the place of the people of former Southern Cameroons in Cameroon. We can win elections nationally. We don't want somebody to be handing us anything on a plate. For example, in 1965, many people will attest to this truth. If Foncha went up against Ahijo in that election, Foncha would have defeated Ahijo. That's a fact. That means a person of former Southern Cameroon's origin, despite our small portion of the national population, would have come to the presidency. In 1992, the people of Cameroon came together and voted Ni John Frundi as their next president. That was a person of former Southern Cameroon's origin. So these two facts are there. We can win elections in Cameroon. But right now, we have an electoral suspense. If you are a minority in a country such as the former Southern Cameroons in the union with former French Cameroon, you must stand up for justice, because justice is what is going to win you respect.
If I may stop you a little bit there, you've mentioned all those examples of elections that sons of the Southern Cameroons could have won or did win. And you mentioned Foncha, you mentioned Frundi, but go past Frundi, you would also mention Kamto, that Kamto won in 2018. You would mention Issa Chiroma that he won in 2025. But none of these got the power, got to the office. Because the fundamental problem in that country has not been solved. And it doesn't seem like it is going to be solved. They rush to the National Assembly and people are crying electoral code, and what they do is insert the position of a vice president. They do nothing about the electoral complaints, electoral code, and so on. So why do you think that anybody from the Southern Cameroon can be president in the Republic of Cameroon, instead of we saying, let us get our sovereignty and get our own president in Boya?
I say that to come to the main principle. The principle is that if you're a minority, always stand up for justice. Justice is going to win you the respect that will ensure that as many people of former Southern Cameroon become president of the whole Cameroon. Maybe there's going to come a time when we will move the capital from Yaoundé to Boya, for all of Cameroon. The point I'm making is that let's be clear about it. This regime knows that it has been defeated. Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari is the president of Cameroon, and we're going to kick them out. They are seeking the help of the people of former Southern Cameroons. First, they started by taking advantage of the fact that our brothers who want to have a separate country asked people not to vote on the 12th of October. Then they went and stopped the ballot in the name of our people. And right now they say that, according to the record, almost 300,000 of the vote that Biya had to assert himself as the winner came from the regions of former Southern Cameroons. So we cannot be a party to injustice. We have the capability to win the presidency in the United Cameroon, in the Federal Republic of United Cameroon. We have that capability. Right now, there is a winner of the
How do you
presidential
get
election.
there?
It's Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari.
How do you
We
get
have a
there?
duty to stand up for the victory.
How do you get to winning elections in the Republic of Cameroon?
Right now, it's clear who the winner is. The regime in Yaoundé knows. We are going to
Everybody
go to
knows
the
that.
street.
Everybody knows that.
Mr.
Everybody
Anu,
knows that.
let me
But
finish
the
my
person
point.
who is said to have won is the one living in exile. How does he get
We
to
are organizing,
Yaoundé?
Mr. Anu. Mr. Anu, give us a couple of weeks after the Pope comes and goes. Give a couple of weeks. The people of Cameroon will come together, take to the street, and many other activities which I cannot disclose here to you. This will happen. And this thief, this election thief that is trying to salvage the position that he has, will be kicked out like a dog from the presidency. This man will become.
The problem, though,
I just
Prof,
do not.
is that we have heard that. The problem, Prof, though, is we have heard that before. We were told, just give us December. December came and passed, nothing. We were told, just give us February. We are coming. February is come and gone, nothing. Now, if the people, if Cameroonians, a lot of Africans feel that they won this election and it was taken away from them, and they could not stage a protest for 1 week at the proclamation of those elections. Do you think the visit of the Pope will get them back to the streets?
It's not the visit of the Pope. You're right in your skepticism. It is not the visit of the Pope, and I can apologize on the behalf of those of us who are activists and organizing. There has been some tension. There has been some problem of coordination behind the scene. But I can tell you, Mr. Anu, that problem has been solved. Mr. Biya will be kicked out. He will be kicked out of the presidency. And the president elected by the sovereign people of Cameroon will be installed there. This constitutional amendment has no bearing whatsoever. Mr. Biya is not the president of Cameroon. We are experiencing an electoral suspense since the October 12, 2025. Everybody in Cameroon knows who the winner of that election is. The people will enforce that, and they will enforce it after they have compelled the election thief, Mr. Biya and his gang, to leave the presidency like dogs, like animals, like beasts that they have transformed themselves to be, taking away the power of the people.
I think
It's going to happen.
I think
It's going
Mr.
to happen
Pierre
very soon.
disagree with you. The idea that Cameroonians should still be looking up to the coming of Issa Chiroma. I think most Cameroonians do not see that happening. Let me get a Pierre in here, please. Pierre, go on, sir. Mr. Pierre, you are on.
Mr. Ito.
You mean Itoe?
Itoe, sorry, yes, Itoe, I'm so sorry.
Yes, that's why I didn't respond. So what do you want I should answer? Is it like the next segment of talking about Chiroma, or the principal question of why not the president,
Well,
Boya president or Yaoundé president?
He brought in Chiroma in the place of a president in Boya, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on any chance. Is there any chance Chiroma is there any chance Chiroma returns to Cameroon and get to the presidency?
Mr. Anu, I cannot be able to weigh into that enough, but I have my perspective. Because in politics, we found there have been really dramatic situations that come afterwards. But for now, the person in charge of Yaoundé is President Paul Biya. And then the president-elect is in exile, and I don't know what he's doing there. right now to come back. But I hear he's doing something. I don't know. But my take is that if I want to be like give, a neutral perspective, my take is that I think in politics you can't also underestimate an opportunist. I think that the president-elect is a political opportunist, but that does not make him not being able to become the president of Cameroon. Why do I say it's an
When you
opportunist?
say
Because
he's an opportunist, can you explain what you mean by the president-elect being an opportunist?
yes, because actually he's been serving His Excellency Paul Biya, and he's been hardcore in that service.
I'm
And
so
in his service
surprised
to
we
his
address Paul Biya as His Excellency.
yes, but I have to do because he's been excellent. Because the word is coming from excellent, and I'll clarify you what I mean by this. You see, people always look at things in a good way, but that's not how you should look at things. Because it's like in the world we have Satan the other side, we have God the other side, but these are all the construction of God, whether you agree or disagree. And so Satan has been excellent in his own domain, and the people worship him and create things and do even this program you are holding here. You're on TV. You could do all these. It's part of the inventions of Satanists. So I would like you to understand that. In that system, he's an opportunist, and he served Paul Biya. For me, I was surprised that he abandoned him and created his own following. But that usually happens. And if he's done that and he won the election, I give him credit for that. But then, politics being what it is, and the ballot box sometimes becomes something else. So he made his judgments and left the country. So when I talk about him being an opportunist and himself and Paul Biya, I respect the fact that, well, it's a claim that he won, but I see him as an opportunist who would have maybe maintained his service to President Paul Biya because that's what he's been serving. But if he chose to go the other way and claim that he wants to liberate Cameroonians, I want to believe in it, and also because these are different voices. The reason I'm here in your TV is not because I agree with you, but I see you as a voice, and I'm another voice, but we may have certain things in common. So my perspective about Issa Chiroma, whether he's going to come back and take over power, I'm not the one to make a reading into that. We don't even know what the presidency is planning. We don't know anything. Everything we are throwing out there in the air, it's just some speculations. He may not come back in 1 year. He may not come back over a long time. But we don't know what the next power dynamics will be in Cameroon the next 4 years or whatever. So we cannot say that he's totally disappeared in the scene because we don't know. We cannot claim to know what we don't know.
Now, if I may take you back to the question of the segment, a president in Boya, an Anglophone president in Boya, I'm using their terminology, not an Anglophone vice president in La République du Cameroon. These are as different as day and night. You live with your dad, the former Justice Minister Benjamin Eto'o, and he served in that country. It was under them. It was under him as Justice Minister that the Anglo-Saxon legal system was eroded. I mean, the erosion started from that period. And 61 years or more than 61 years after, we are still asking for vice president to go and serve in La République du Cameroon after 10 years of those people killing our people just to subjugate us. Why shouldn't we be saying we want a president in Boya and not a powerless, empty vice president in Yaoundé?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chris, for that question. And at the same time, you put in your perspectives into it. First of all, I would like to make a correction about my father serving as the Minister of State in charge of Justice. At the time he served there, he was diligent and he gave the right services and improved on the justice administration in Cameroon. He did an excellent job. I'm not saying he did a perfect job, but he did an excellent job. Myself, I'm so surprised that after him, things have been eroding in a way, which I think that in his quiescence, where he could be quiet there, he himself understands that there have been changes. I'm not sure he likes them, but I would like to correct you that he did an excellent job and a dedicated job as the Minister of Justice. And now to the other segment of your question. A president in Buea, a vice president in Yaoundé. This is how I see it. I would like to talk first about the vice president in Yaoundé, because that is the politics that's there now, and we cannot be making our facts now based on some kind of illusions. So the president and the vice president. The president we know for now who's there is His Excellency Paul Biya. And I'll still say His Excellency, like I told you, he's been excellent in navigating the politics in Cameroon. Whether you think, Mr. Chris, Mr.
You are
Anu,
coming across to me sounding like a CPDM crony.
No, you see,
His Excellency. How can somebody you call His Excellency destroy the country this way, and you still call him His Excellency?
It is his title forever until he goes to the grave. It remains his title. It is a title. It's a title, and it's not for you to make that judgment. It is just a title, but I understand your
Titles have merit and demerit. In this case, Paul Biya doesn't deserve being called His Excellency. He should be called. Yes, go on.
I try to make to correct you about this. My perspective, not just a perspective, is what I believe. Excellent. He's been running the country for more than 40 years.
And he has run it very excellently.
Please don't cut me. I'm coming. You asked something.
No, I'm getting you. Go on.
Yes. So he's been running the country for such a number of years. And he has been excellent in the way he's been navigating his politics. For me, it's a miracle. How could he have survived up to 40 years? What's happening? But it's bad. It's about that he's excellent. Like I told you, whether you think he's bad, Satan is also excellent. And we all agree that
I agree with you.
It's bad. But Satan is excellent. He's really excellent. And Satan runs his own kingdom, and he anoints people also. So that's why when I say His Excellency, I just have to continue to respect everyone with what they do and what they have laid down. Has he got failures as a president? It is obvious he has failures as a president.
If I may ask, let me go to Ben, who is about rushing out before I get back to you. Ben, if you have a vice president in Yaoundé, what difference does it make from Foncha, from Dion Gute, from Ephraim Inoni, from Achidi Achu? I mean, you know all of them. What difference does it make, especially when the president can hire and fire him? Oh, I think Ben is out. Okay, let me pose the question to you, Mr. Itoe. What difference does it make, considering that we've had all these vice presidents? We've had all these vice presidents through the years. They are appointed by the president, fired by the president. They really don't have any powers of their own. We are told the prime minister is head of government and so on. But he has like 4 other prime ministers. 4 other prime ministers. What difference does it make if Frank Biya comes on, appoint Peter Mafani Mosonge, vice president, or appoint Philemon Yang vice president, or appoint Paul Atanyenji vice president, what difference does it make? Does it serve, let me put it in your terminology, does it serve the Anglophones?
I see your reaction to that, and I understand where you're coming from. And I would like to say that, when we talk about this thing of politics, you are throwing a lot of hypotheses there in the air.
No, these are things that can happen.
These are just, yes, those hypotheses. So you just have all these speculations of things that's happened. And that's one of the things you fall into the trap of the way, that's why I say Bia is excellent, the way he does his politics. They've thrown something there in the air and people are talking and talking and talking and guessing and doing all that. We don't know who's going to be there. Is it an Anglophone that's going to be there? We don't know. But what I believe and what I know,
let me tell you, hold it there for a moment. Let me tell you what I know. I know for sure because Anglophones are asking for vice president. Bia will appoint Frank Bia Ongongo as vice president. Hand over to them. Then Frank Bia Ongongo to satisfy the Anglophones. Anglophones will then appoint a vice president and who will have no powers, nothing, zero, hired and fired at any moment. And that is the main reason why their constitution gives no powers to the vice president, because the president can hire and fire him at any moment, and that's what's going to happen. They have their plans.
Yeah, but that's your reasonable speculation. That's a speculation. You don't know. You're speculating. We don't know. But it's a speculation. Can it come out to be real? It could come out to be real. Could it be that it's an English-speaking Cameroon that's going to be vice president? Yes. And for me, I support that. And if an English-speaking Cameroon becomes vice president, then that means there's a pathway to become president for that English-speaking Cameroon to become president. Because my dream is and belief is that an English-speaking Cameroon someday is going to be president of Cameroon.
It is hard for me to see a pathway in that process for an Anglophone to become president, because since there is no constitutional modalities that keep him there, once whether Frank Bia or Ngongo is about to hand over, it could even be the month or the week before he hands over, we fire the vice president. And the constitution allows him to do that. Just as Bia, realizing he is about to go, has asked them to change the constitution and insert vice president. So what if Frank Bia comes in, Ngongo comes in, and he is about to go, and he says, let's fire the vice president and name another Anglophone so he can take over from me? What if he does that?
I would like to think that you are politically nervous, because I could feel from your speculations, and I can feel the intensity in you, and you are a politically minded person, and you're expecting some changes and how it will affect the English-speaking part of Cameroon. For me, like I said, I would like to maintain that who's going to be vice president, we don't know. Would it be Frank Bia? Possible. Would it be any other person? Possible. Would it be an English-speaking Cameroon? Possible. But the only thing I don't like or I wonder about is that this brings in some overcrowding in the executive, in the leadership of Cameroon. Right? What do I mean by overcrowding is that there is the Prime Minister, John Guter, and then there is the post of the Vice President. I just think one should not exist. Maybe the Prime Ministership should not exist as we have a Vice President coming in. So I don't understand this, and I think there's going to be overcrowding, and when there's overcrowding, there's going to be some kind of chaotic situation.
You reason like a regular person. who want to solve a problem, a situation. They don't reason like you. They create those positions to satisfy people geographically, politically. For example, they want to make sure that Bamenda Keys are represented in this government. They want to make sure that the Fako people are represented, the BLM people are represented, the Northeast are represented, the Anglophones are. So they create all those positions. Haven't you heard of ministers without portfolio?
Yeah, you're very correct. And, that is why people like us were into activism, but what I call realistic activism. And you see, as long as you on your own side, you are active and doing what you're doing, if you rebrand yourself correctly, all these actors, they are building this team. And once the political steam is there, change eventually will not be denied. But then we have to be looking into what did the people who played the politics, what did they do wrong? What did they not do right? And when I say President Paul Biya has been excellent in his politics, and sometimes we could not always like him, it's just that he has not put reasonable development when it comes to things like infrastructure, the health system, and things that you would praise, Yeah. So for me, I just think that, I just think that if we look into things, I just want to say that the problem, there have been different problems in there, and one of them is power politics. Number two is money politics. Power talk politics. The people are interested in positions, and once you give them those positions, they are complacent. And they sing for you, and they hail you, they praise you. Does that happen only in Cameroon? No. Then when you go now to money politics, we're not talking about power politics and money politics. We're talking now about those they put there as leaders, those they vote in the regions and in the municipalities as leaders, and His Excellency Paul Biya, I say excellent because how he understands how to use power politics and money politics, which is something also done in the United States. It's excellently done in the United States. There's nobody who becomes president in the United States without being involved in this power politics, especially money politics.
And even when they do as well as they do, you never hear anybody addressing them. His Excellency Donald Trump, His Excellency Barack Obama.
But they address the president. They address the president.
Yeah, they address the president. But the title of His Excellency is a title that should apply to every good leader or every leader. But Cameroon, they carry it on their head. Africa in general carries it on its head. And whether you are a dictator or democratic ruler, you are His Excellency, the head of state. But let me bring Shay into the conversation here. He's been waiting for a while. I'm sure you agree with me. We don't need an Anglophone vice president in La République du Cameroon. We need a president in Boya because after independence, since 1961, we've seen that there is no relationship between La République du Cameroon and the southern Cameroons. Am I correct?
Thank you again for having me once more back. Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you, please.
What is your problem with La République du Cameroon having a vice president country? How does that concern you?
Well, I'm talking in the context of, hold on there. It's a good question, but I'm talking in the context of Anglophones fighting. I saw a newspaper, I think it was in the Post newspaper or the Guardian, calling for an Anglophone to gather, Anglophones together, and also Akere Muna, as I quoted, writing about the desecration of the union by virtue of the fact that the Anglophone is not being given vice president. That's the context within which I'm talking.
Okay, I was asking because if Cameroon chooses to put an Anglophone as their vice president, that shouldn't be our business. Of course, our business is that we need an Ambazonian in Buea. That's the point. And
I think
before I come back to this
I
topic,
think that is an overstatement if you say we shouldn't mind if they make an Anglophone their vice president, because they are not making it for making it sake. They are trying to send a message to the world. We are Anglophones say they are marginalized, but look at who is the vice president. That's the message they want to send out.
but that's where the discourse of who an Anglophone comes in here. Are we just Anglophones? We've been having this discourse because the fact is, for a Francophone person, an Anglophone could be someone speaking English, right? It could be someone that has studied
Not
in.
really. No, I think you have to have a heritage.
No, I'm coming to
the
that. I
English
say it could
heritage.
be. I'm not saying it is. Listen to the semantics. What I'm trying to put across here is it's the same thing like when you look at the Commonwealth. Cameroon is in the Commonwealth because of the English-speaking part of Cameroon, right? And
Right.
and some people do consider being an Anglophone is speaking English, just the same like you have countries like Rwanda that have made English, they were French countries, but now they have made English their official languages, their official language, sorry. How will you term this, an Anglophone country or a French country?
I would call
And
them an
that's why,
Anglophone country.
sorry?
I would call them an Anglophone country because it's national policy. Everybody there speaks English.
And what about when they speak both languages?
Well, you ask for which language is official, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
English is official.
English and French could be official in Rwanda as well, I guess. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, they may be, but then remember they made English their working language.
Thank you. All right, let me come back to our debate. That was just a comic relief. And another comic relief which I want to take from Mr. Eto'o, which comes back to the issue of this excellence. And I remember when he started the topic, he brought me back to one. I think you had a show on this issue of excellency. Your excellency this, your excellency that, and so on. And I remember, I don't know if it was on ABS TV, but I know that you have had a show on with this topic, and it was very, very excited. And I want to say that when we talk about excellence, we're talking about greatness, the very best. But if we look at excellency as a title, which is what we used to call your excellency, I think it's a word that we know the origin is from Latin, which was, I think they had two words, excere or something like that, and excellencia, which is a Latin word that has been used, borrowed in the English, and it's in English, and it's the use is usually, like we said, for leaders, and also I think the Catholic Church uses that word as well. And for me to use somebody as an excellence, your excellency, we often look at it in a positive way, someone that you can emulate, someone that you can look onto, a leader that you can follow. And when he says that, I think he handles it from another perspective, which I really respect and also learn from it, that for Biya to be the kind of person that we say that he is, and for 44 years or 43 years and counting, and he's still able to manipulate people and be in that position, then he must be doing a very excellent job to be in that position. So I can see from that angle where he's coming from, but I also want to, and that is what is going to lead me into this topic, which we're talking about the position of the vice president, and this is where we are trying to ask: is Biya actually? My question has always been Biya at 93. We've seen him in public outings. We've seen him in situations where he couldn't even recognize himself or where he was, except it was a drama. We've seen when Macron came to Cameroon even years back, and Macron became an interpreter to President Biya. These are people in which we saw what happened in the US, where he couldn't even recognize where he was, and yet we still keep him in power, we still vote him in power, and we begin to ask this question. I remember in 2018 election when Kanto won and they declared Biya the winner, and they had to go to the Constitutional Council to protest. There is this SDF lawyer, I think it's led Barrister Sama. I don't know if that is the right name. There was an argument, a word which he used, that the president was incapacitated, and this is what leads into which is one of the reasons I think is leading into the reintroduction of the vice president, which we just had, I think, this April. And as we know, it turned out that this position has suddenly become an appointed one. And being an appointed one, we know the position was, it did exist, but it was abolished in, I think, 1972. And that should be about 53, 54 years, I don't know, since this position was abolished. But what is leading into this is the fact that when I see Biya being incapacitated, and I also agree from what I have seen from his outings and from the way things are being run, how the state's affairs are being controlled by a handful, like I earlier said, I have the opinion that it is also another manipulation by these people. And putting one-on-one together, you will notice that they realize that maybe Biya may not, because of his age and incapacitation, he will be bound down soon. And you saw the drama that took place the National Assembly recently, which I am also putting one-on-one and asking myself, did really, I'm not speaking bad about the dead, but I'm looking at the situation where suddenly Niar was replaced. That's when he died. And I'm beginning to answer, did he die before this happened and the information was concealed? Or actually the doctor must have seen that he didn't have many days to live, that they had to rush to make these changes for the first time, because we know that for many years he could not even rule as a president of the Senate. And what are the key functions of these, which we are trying to say, is that the reason they are appointing a vice president at the moment, the intention was usually for political stability, knowing fully, like the word that I have already used, that maybe he's incapacitated. It's for state continuity. They want to continue running the affairs of the state in that same circle, that occultic circle, which you once presented in your program, and also act as a direct constitutional successor to the president, who is Paul Biya, and then to appoint the president that can take over. If the president talk about incapacity, we also need to talk in case he resigns, which people do not resign in Cameroon, and in case he dies. Now, what is the succession plan here is that in case the president dies or incapacitated or resign, as we said, the vice president automatically completes the remainder of his 7th term. This is a kind of a system that is run in Nigeria, where you usually have the president contesting for the elections with a vice at the same time not being appointed. And that is where the bone of contention is coming up, where people are asking, how can you appoint a prime minister, a vice president, who will rule a country that is not democratically elected? This is one of the controversies where we have arguments from left and right, and people have been questioning. In the case of Nigeria, permit me use that because we are neighbors, it's because usually they even had some agreements where the presidential ticket is usually, and the reason I'm bringing this is because of what you just said about power sharing, putting in Northeast to be this and the Bamileke to be this and Anglophone to be this, is because in Nigeria, they try to look beyond ethnicity, even though at some point they used to say the South-South ticket and the North-South ticket, but at the same time, they came to an agreement where if the person contesting was for the presidency was from the North, probably his vice should be from the South, and vice versa. And then they also considered religion, meaning that if the person contesting was a Christian for the presidency, then the vice president would be a Muslim. But as African leaders, we always go against agreements. Tinubu came in with his own ticket, and it was a Muslim ticket, which he argued that only competent Nigerians they should forget about religion should rule, and he got along with it, and he is in power. Nothing happened. It's the same thing that we see that is playing in Cameroon now that the vice president is going to be appointed. He is only going to play what is called a supervisory role and governance. And what do we mean by that? That he is only going to help in improving the quality of the institutions. And these things that I am saying is not that I support them. I'm just trying to say what they have in mind and what they think they can achieve. And the role is also to supervise specific government departments and some strategic projects. Now, as an advisory role, what does it intend here? That the members of the advisory role, they will include, we have the National Security Council, and then we have the National Economic Council. And these are the people who are going to play the role in advising the president in security issues and economic issues. And what is the use of this? To get government continuity, meaning that they want to keep that clique to continue, like I already said, and that the vice president now, when Biya is not there, you remember for many years now, Biya has not had cabinet meetings. So probably the vice president is going to play that role, or they intend that he's going to play that role in handling cabinet meetings, especially in the absence of the president if he's out, as he's been ruling Cameroon for many years from Swiss and so on. And how is that going to do? It's going to strengthen the executive power, meaning that this position, according to them, is viewed by some as strengthening the executive control. But the sad thing is that the VP, the vice president position, is not elected.
All right. Let's, because of time constraint, let me give Mr. Etoy the last word, and then we'll call it a night. We're running over time here. Mr. Etoy, sir.
Yes. I just listened to my respectable person on the panel there with his opinion, his perspective. I think they are good. They are really good. But when we have to be looking into, like, the vice president has to be elected and all that, you see, it's true. That's how it goes. But then, whether being elected, if going into a ticket together, it's still the first candidate who's running who picks the vice. So, and when you pick the vice, the two are elected. But then in this situation, that position of vice presidency wasn't there. And if the reform requires that there has to be a vice president, and him picking someone, nominating someone to be vice president, I don't think there's so much problem with that. We are so caught up with how systems are, but systems are not the same. What will be most important is for what he's bringing into function. Do I support this idea of a vice president? I'm skeptical about it. I am, because I would want someone like the prime minister to be moved to, the current prime minister, to be moved to vice presidency. Also considering that His Excellency Paul Biya, power was given to him by his president when he was prime minister. So I don't understand why it should be very difficult to shift that power to the current prime minister, who's English speaking.
It
and
is
if
simple,
we truly mean,
Mr. Tue, the answer is simple, because he is Anglophone. Power must not go to Anglophones. You know that.
yes, but that's just when you think in a bubble. He cannot control what's going to become of history. He cannot control it. And there are certain things I have some reservations to talk about. But I would say that I hope that an English-speaking Cameroon is put there, not for that I want him to be vice president, but that I see it like it's a pathway. And for me, I just think that we should not over speculate. Your speculations will be right. It could be Frank Biya, it could be anyone. But then let there be more reforms and more shifts. And whether we control whatever, anything that's going to be, no matter how humans have tried to put it in the way they want it, it's always going to shift. I believe in that. And they are in their generation in the way they think about. Things will go so different. We respect them for what they have done. They've not pleased the Cameroon people. The entire team have not pleased the Cameroon people. And we hope that things are just going to be different as they fade away respectfully. Let them fade away respectfully. And let's just see which reforms are coming. And we hold our breath talking about an English-speaking Cameroon president in Boya, because it is possible to have an English-speaking Cameroon president in Yaoundé. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. An English-speaking president of Ambazonia of Cameroon, or Anglophone in the Yaoundé, that what he is capable of doing, surrounded by the bureaucracy that will be around him, and the military that will also be on his neck. Let's hope that a resolution is found, and Ambazonia finds sovereignty, self-governance, and has its own leader. And should that happen, you don't blame them. You blame Yaoundé, because Yaoundé keeps pushing. I mean, heads are rolling now because Yaoundé doesn't want to give them the post of vice president, even though there's nothing in there, isn't it? After 10 years of war, they don't even deserve that seat. Think about it. So, well, anyway, gentlemen, thank you for being part of the broadcast tonight. It was great having you. I look forward to having you back.
Thank you for your invitation. Thank you for the participation, and thank you for your modesty. And remember, we are all voices that speaking from different windows, and we remain the people of Cameroon. Whether you say Southern Cameroon or the French-speaking part of Cameroon, but we are Cameroonians. We remain brothers and sisters.
I am Ambazonia.
The choice is in front of us. Yeah, but then you Cameroon. Ambazonia is from Cameroon.
West Southern Cameroon, so you mean, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Historically, it's Southern Cameroon. So you are still Cameroon. It's just rebranding a name, So you remain Cameroonian, whatever.
Okay.
With all due respect, things will be different. Let's keep playing our different roles and keep the activism. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. We look forward to having you again.
My pleasure, and everyone, and Mr. Ito, good night, and keep pushing the Republic agenda. Maybe after 60 years, you guys may come out of this.
All right. Thank you very much. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we cannot open the phone lines today because of time constraints. But I will be back on Wednesday to cover the Pope's visit to Bamenda live. When he lands at the Albert Mokong Airport in Bamenda, we'll be covering it live right here in our studios in Houston, Texas. And we're going to be having a good panel to do some commentary on what they say. Shay, let me come back to you briefly. What do you make of this name, Albert Mokong's Airport, Bamenda?
Yeah, what is in the name, Comrade Chris? I think we should...
Honor is in the name.
Yeah, that's honor. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that answer. I've listened to you promote this name, and what I thought would be that let's get over the fuse between the Mancon Airport and the Bafut Airport, and then we come back to a common name.
I solved that problem already. Well,
Did you?
Let's
I
forget
missed it
Mancom.
out.
Let's forget Bafut. Call it Bamenda Albert Mokong's Airport.
Sometimes neutrality can really do the magic. Just like Archbishop Kea is saying that the Pope's visit has brought magic to Cameroon to see how routes are being constructed and what next. Thank you for having me once. And
Thank you. Thank you. After the Pope is gone, you will see a good portion of those roads in Bamenda, which they are now still working on, they will be abandoned.
Of course,
because
that is
it for who? They're doing it now for the Pope to come and see. The Pope, once the Pope is gone, you will receive reports from Bamenda. It will take.
But before you go, let me find out what is wrong if the Pope had visited the country with the potholes and tested the reality. Because I think all these developments or these patch, cut and nail things are usually probably to hide the reality. I would have preferred
a lot of people want the Pope to believe that Ambazonians say they are marginalized, they are neglected, that it is exaggerated, that it is not true. That's why they are rushing and filling potholes and whitewashing the city.
As a servant of Christ could go into any length, even with mosquitoes and so on. All these things for me, they are, how do you say, they are just cosmetics. This is not a solution. But I hope that those who are meeting to talk with him will explain that all these developments that I've seen have just been patched up for the short time that he's been here. Imagine, this is to show you also, I'm sorry to take this long, this is to show you how this regime has bad faith. To take less than 2 months to do this is a sign that they could do more. Look at how long and how much the construction they have done within weeks. And we have been crying for this for how many years? Yet they couldn't do, and this is just, it's, for me, it's painful, and I will even call it a sacrilege.
Well, once more, again, thank you for getting back. All I know is after the Pope is gone, the airport will return to a military barrack. Because does Cameroon have airlines? They don't have any airlines. They don't have local air transportation. So who is going to fly to?
Well, but the Archbishop disagreed with you. He has become the spokesperson of the regime. He has assured that after that, flights will be coming to Bamenda.
I will agree with him the moment I see Cameroon buying flights, buying planes. For now, they have none. So forget about it. All right. Good night, sir. It was a pleasure having you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Good night, Mr. Eto'o. It was a great pleasure having you, too. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a night here. Because of time constraints, we can't open the phone lines. But I look forward to being back here on Wednesday and opening the phone lines for you to comment on the Pope's visit, which will be live right here on ABS. Thank you for tuning in and for joining the broadcast. Now we'll say you have a great night.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during
Jesus came with grace. We are nothing without His grace. Messiah, I recognize your grace. Jehovah, I'll appreciate your grace.